There's something buried in your DNA, memory your conscious mind has never accessed. Not a thought, not a dream, just a pull. Feeling some people get standing at the edge of a cliff at dusk, or watching a storm roll across an open plain. Scientists have a name for it. They call it the Pleistocene pulse. Once you understand what the world actually looked like when that instinct was being written into your biology, you'll never quite shake the feeling that the world you're living in right now is the strange one. Here's the thing. 100,000 years ago, the sky above your head looked almost exactly like the sky above mine. Same stars, same moon, same sun burning at 93 million miles. But the ground was a completely different planet. Start with the ocean, because the ocean has been lying to you your whole life. Coastlines you've seen on every map, every globe, every satellite image. Those aren't the permanent edges of the world. They're a snapshot. During the last ice age, sea levels were roughly 400 feet lower than they are today. 400 feet. That's not a rounding error. That's a continent's worth of land that simply doesn't exist anymore. Where the shallow waters of the North Sea sit today, there was a vast landmass called Doggerland. Rolling hills, river valleys, marshes full of game. Tens of thousands of people lived there, hunted there, buried their dead there. Then the ice melted, slowly at first, then catastrophically, and within a few generations those coasts were gone. The rivers became inlets, the hills became islands, and eventually everything went under. Across dozens of unconnected cultures, Norse, Mesopotamian, Hindu, Indigenous American, you find the same story, told in different costumes. Great flood, a drowned world, a homeland swallowed by water. Not coincidence, it's memory. Step inland and the strangeness only deepens. North American continent, same land under Chicago, under Denver, under Dallas, is populated by animals that make the African savanna look understated. Mastodons with shoulder heights taller than an SUV, giant ground sloths the size of elephants, moving through the forests so slowly they barely seemed real. Short-faced bears that could outrun a horse. And the American lion, third larger than any lion alive today, with a skull built for one purpose. These weren't zoo animals or fossil reconstructions. They were a daily reality. Ancient humans navigated their landscapes around them, incorporated them into spiritual life, hunted some of them, and fled from others. The absence of these creatures in our world isn't just an ecological footnote. It's the silence left behind after a whole chapter of life got erased. You can feel that silence in places if you let yourself. Standing in an old-growth forest at night, some part of your nervous system is still listening for something that no longer comes. Look up. In any American city tonight, on a good night, you might see 40 or 50 stars. On a clear night far from city lights, maybe 2,000. But in a world with no artificial light anywhere on the planet, the sky your ancestors saw was something different in kind, not just degree. The Milky Way wasn't a faint smear on the horizon, it was a road, a river, a ceiling so detailed and bright it cast shadows. 65,000 years ago, Aboriginal Australians were mapping the sky with a sophistication we're only beginning to document, charting not just the stars, but the dark patches between them, negative space of the galaxy, as constellations in their own right. The sky was a calendar, a compass, scripture, and a conversation. Every culture that has ever existed developed a cosmology, a story about what all that light meant, because ignoring it would have been like ignoring the ground beneath your feet. The sky was infrastructure. Here is the part that should change how you see yourself. Everything that happened in the last 12,000 years, agriculture, cities, writing, the internet, whatever you're doing with your Tuesday afternoons, all of it is a postscript. Homo sapiens spent the overwhelming majority of their existence as a species living in small bands, moving with the seasons, reading landscapes the way you read faces, woven into ecosystems so completely, the boundary between human culture and natural world barely existed. Your brain was not built for this world. It was built for that one. The anxiety you feel in crowds, the deep satisfaction of a fire at night, the reason certain landscapes feel like home even though you've never been there. It's not metaphor. It's architecture. Your nervous system is a Pleistocene nervous system running inside a civilization it didn't evolve for. Everything you are was shaped by a world that no longer exists. In the caves of southern France and northern Spain, in the Tassili Mountains of Algeria, on cliff faces across Australia and the American Southwest, you can still find the evidence directly. Handprints pressed into rock using pigment and breath, some of them more than 40,000 years old. Not diagrams, not maps, not records of conquest. Just a hand, pressed to a wall, what feels unmistakably like the same impulse behind every piece of art ever made. I was here. I saw this, I felt this. The people who left those prints had the same brain you're using right now to process these words. They felt wonder and grief and love and the particular vertigo of staring into a fire and wondering what all of this means. They looked up at that impossibly bright sky, told stories about it that their children's children would carry for 1,000 generations. We just can't see what they were seeing.